The Galactic Academy of Exosociology was a beacon of knowledge in a galaxy filled with diverse species, each bringing their own cultures, histories, and mysteries. Among the faculty, Professor Lyra Torvan was one of the most respected and feared. Known for her unorthodox methods, she believed that learning was an experience, not just a process of memorization and regurgitation. Azirian herself, she had dedicated her life to understanding the psychological and social dynamics of different species. But no species fascinated her more than the humans, or as some in the galaxy referred to them, the Deathworlders. Humans came from Earth, a planet classified as a Class 4 death world, a rarity in the galaxy. Death worlds were defined by their extreme environments, filled with predators, natural disasters, and climates that would kill most other life forms. Yet humans had not only survived, but thrived in such an environment. Their resilience, adaptability, and sheer will to persevere had puzzled scholars for centuries. Some speculated it was their biology, others believed it was their culture, and a few even whispered that it might be something more metaphysical. It was with this mystery in mind that Professor Torvan decided on the theme for her advanced exosociology class, uncovering the secret behind the human's legendary resilience. On the first day of the semester, she stood before her students, an eclectic mix of species from across the galaxy, and made the announcement. "This semester we will embark on an experiment unlike any other," she began, her voice resonating with authority. Her 4 eyes, common among Xerians, scanned the room, noting the eager faces of her students. "Your task is to uncover the secret of human resilience. You will work in groups, each with at least one human member, to observe, analyze, and theorize what makes humans so uniquely equipped to survive the most hostile environments in the galaxy." A murmur of excitement and apprehension spread through the room. The humans in the class, Alex, Jess, and Ethan, shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They were used to being subjects of curiosity, but this was different. They would be under constant scrutiny, their every action and reaction observed. Professor Torvan continued, "This is not just an academic exercise. It's a chance to explore the very essence of survival, of what it means to endure when all odds are against you. You will be graded not just on your findings, but on your ability to work together, to understand each other, and to present a cohesive theory by the end of the semester." The students were then divided into groups, each one carefully balanced with representatives from various species, ensuring a wide range of perspectives. Group A included Ethan, along with Torg, a Gravon known for his analytical mind, Ira, a nimble Quellian, and Zimra, a Relian with highly developed sensory abilities. Group B consisted of Jess, Varys, a Kalar telepath, Nara, a Graven strategist, and Syrah, a Relian empath. Group C paired Alex with Lynx, a Quellian diplomat, Thar, a Kalar telepath, and Grak, a stoic Gravon. With the groups formed, the students were eager to begin. Some saw it as an opportunity to prove themselves, others as a challenge to overcome. But for the humans, it was something more personal. They weren't just studying an abstract concept, they were the subject of the study. And as the class dispersed, they couldn't help but wonder what secrets, if any, they themselves might uncover. The experiment began in earnest the following week. Each group devised their own methods of observation, drawing on the strengths of their diverse members. The humans, initially hesitant, agreed to participate fully, understanding that the success of the project depended on their cooperation. Group A decided to focus on physical endurance. They took Ethan to the Academy's Advanced Obstacle Course, a facility designed to test the limits of different species. The course was notorious for its difficulty, incorporating elements from various planetary environments, high gravity zones, extreme temperatures, treacherous terrain, and even simulated predatory attacks. As they arrived at the course, Torg, the Gravon, immediately began calculating the optimal strategies for each section. "This course is designed to push you beyond your physical limits," Torg explained, his voice a deep rumble. "We'll be monitoring your vitals, recording your time, and analyzing your movements." Ethan nodded, adjusting his gear. He was no stranger to physical challenges. Earth itself was a constant test of endurance. As he stood at the starting line, Era and Zimra set up their monitoring equipment, their alien eyes focused intently on him. The course began with a high-gravity zone, a section that even Gravons found challenging. As soon as Ethan entered, he felt the weight press down on him, making every step a monumental effort. But he pushed forward, his face set in grim determination. The sensors recorded his vitals spiking, his muscles straining, yet he continued, step by agonizing step. When he finally emerged from the high-gravity zone, drenched in sweat and panting, Torg was there to meet him. "Incredible," the Gravon muttered, examining the data. "Your muscle fatigue should have incapacitated you, yet you kept going." Ethan managed a weary smile. "We humans, we're stubborn like that." The course continued, with Ethan navigating through areas of freezing cold, searing heat, and narrow passageways that tested his agility. Each challenge seemed designed to break him, yet each time he stumbled, he found a way to push through. When he finally crossed the finish line, exhausted but triumphant, his group stared at him in awe. Zimra, the Relian, was the first to speak. "Your ability to endure, it's unlike anything I've seen. But what drives you? What makes you push past the pain?" Ethan considered the question for a moment before replying. "Back on Earth, giving up isn't an option. We're taught from a young age to keep going, no matter what. Maybe it's because we've faced so many challenges throughout our history. Wars, disasters, disease. We've learned to survive because we have to. And sometimes, we just don't know when to quit." Group B took a different approach, focusing on mental resilience. Jess was subjected to a series of telepathic tests designed by Varys, the Kalar. Kalar telepaths were renowned for their ability to probe deep into the minds of others, often revealing hidden thoughts and memories. Varys believed that understanding Jess's mental fortitude would unlock the secret of human resilience. The tests began with simple memory exercises, but quickly escalated to more intense mental challenges. Varys delved into Jess's mind, searching for the core of her strength. What he found shocked him. Jess's mind was a maze of fortified walls, some memories sealed away so tightly that even Varys struggled to access them. But it wasn't just the barriers that impressed him. It was the content. Jess had lived through experiences that would have shattered most beings: the loss of loved ones, the horrors of war, and personal struggles that seemed insurmountable. As Varys probed deeper, he encountered a memory so vivid, so painful, that it caused him to recoil. It was a moment of loss, Jess standing on a battlefield, holding the lifeless body of a friend. The emotion was raw, overwhelming, yet somehow Jess had managed to compartmentalize it, to lock it away and continue on. When the session ended, Varys withdrew, visibly shaken. "Your mind, it's a fortress," he said, his voice unsteady. "How do you bear it? How do you carry so much pain and still function?" Jess looked away, her expression haunted. "We don't have a choice. We carry it because we have to. It's not about being strong, it's about surviving. We find a way to keep going, even when it feels like the weight will crush us." Varys nodded slowly, realizing that human resilience was not just a physical trait, but a mental one as well. It was a form of strength that came from enduring the unendurable, from facing the darkness and refusing to let it consume them. Group C decided to explore the social dynamics of human resilience. Alex was observed in various social settings, interacting with members of different species. Syrah, the Relian empath, was particularly interested in how Alex adapted to different social cues and cultural norms. Over the course of several weeks, Syrah and her group watched as Alex navigated complex social situations with ease. Whether he was conversing with the stoic Gravons, engaging in rapid-fire debates with the quick-witted Quellians, or offering quiet support to the more emotionally sensitive Kalar, Alex seemed to intuitively understand how to connect with each individual. Syrah was fascinated by Alex's adaptability. "You adjust so easily," she remarked during one of their debriefs. "You're able to read the room, so to speak, and adapt your behavior accordingly. How do you do it?" Alex shrugged modestly. "Humans are social creatures. We've evolved to live in groups, and that means learning to understand and relate to others. On Earth, we have so many different cultures, languages, and customs that we've had to become good at adapting. It's a survival skill." But it wasn't just about social niceties. Syrah noticed that Alex also had a deep sense of empathy, an ability to sense when someone was struggling and offer support. Whether it was a simple word of encouragement or a gesture of solidarity, Alex seemed to know exactly what was needed to help others keep going. As the groups continued their observations, they compiled their data, but something remained elusive. They had documented physical endurance, mental fortitude, and social adaptability, yet the core of human resilience still felt out of reach. It was as if the more they learned, the less they understood. As the weeks passed, the pressure of the experiment began to take its toll on the human students. Being constantly observed, analyzed, and tested was exhausting, both physically and mentally. The novelty of the experiment had worn off, replaced by a growing sense of frustration and anxiety. Ethan, who had initially approached the physical challenges with enthusiasm, began to withdraw. He became more irritable, snapping at his group members during training sessions. The constant strain on his body was catching up to him, and the weight of being expected to perform at superhuman levels was overwhelming. During one particularly grueling obstacle course session, Ethan stumbled in the high-gravity zone. For a moment, it looked as though he might collapse, his legs buckling under the intense pressure. But then, with a guttural growl, he forced himself back up, his muscles straining, his face contorted in pain. He finished the course, but when he reached the end, he simply sat down, too exhausted to move. Torg approached him, concerned. "You don't have to push yourself so hard," he said quietly. "We're not expecting you to be invincible." Ethan looked up, his expression a mixture of anger and despair. "That's the problem, isn't it? Everyone expects us to be invincible, but we're not. We get tired, we get hurt, we're just as breakable as anyone else." In Group B, Jess was struggling with the mental toll of the experiment. The telepathic probes had dredged up memories she had long buried, forcing her to relive traumas she had tried to forget. She found herself growing increasingly distant, her emotions on edge. Even simple interactions became difficult as she fought to keep her emotions in check. One day, during a particularly intense telepathic session, Jess reached her breaking point. As Varys probed deeper into her mind, trying to understand the source of her resilience, he accidentally triggered a painful memory. Jess's mental defenses snapped, and she lashed out telepathically, pushing Varys out of her mind with such force that he staggered backward, his head throbbing from the backlash. "I'm done with this," Jess said, her voice trembling with anger and pain. "You want to know what makes us resilient? It's because we have no choice. We live with the pain, we carry it with us every day, and we find a way to keep going. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean we're unbreakable." Varys, still reeling from the mental backlash, nodded in understanding. He had glimpsed the depth of Jess's pain, and it had shaken him to his core. The resilience he had admired was not born of strength, but of necessity. It was a defense mechanism, a way to survive in a world that often seemed intent on breaking them. In Group C, the strain was more subtle, but no less damaging. Alex, who had been the glue holding his group together, began to crack under the pressure of constant observation. His natural ability to adapt to social situations became a burden, as he found himself constantly trying to meet the expectations of his group members. During a group discussion, Lynx, the Quellian, remarked on Alex's ability to maintain a positive attitude even in difficult situations. "It's impressive how you're always able to stay calm and supportive, even when things get tough," she said. But instead of the usual modest response, Alex snapped, "You think it's easy? You think I enjoy being everyone's emotional support? It's exhausting. I can't always be the one holding everything together. Sometimes, I just want to be left alone." The outburst stunned the group. They had come to rely on Alex's steady presence, but they hadn't realized the toll it was taking on him. For the first time, they saw the cracks in his facade, the weariness in his eyes. The breakdowns in each group forced the students to confront a harsh reality. The humans were not invincible. They were resilient, yes, but they were also vulnerable, just like everyone else. Their strength came not from an inherent toughness, but from a deep-seated determination to survive, no matter the cost. As the end of the semester approached, the students prepared their final presentations. But the tone in the classroom had shifted. The initial excitement had given way to a more somber, reflective atmosphere. The experiment had taken them on a journey they hadn't anticipated, revealing not just the resilience of humans, but also their own vulnerabilities. Group A presented their findings on physical endurance, but their focus had shifted. Instead of highlighting Ethan's extraordinary feats, they talked about the cost of those feats. Torg, who had initially been obsessed with the data, spoke candidly about what he had learned. Ethan's endurance is remarkable, but it's not limitless, Torg began, addressing the class. What I've come to understand is that his strength isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional. It's the ability to keep going when every part of him is screaming to stop. But that kind of resilience comes at a price. It's not something to be taken for granted. Ethan, sitting next to Torg, nodded in agreement. We push ourselves because we have to. But that doesn't mean we don't feel the strain. It doesn't mean we're invincible. We're just stubborn. Group B's presentation was equally introspective. Varys, who had initially sought to unlock the secrets of Jess's mental fortitude, spoke about what he had discovered. Jess's mind is like a fortress, Varys said, his voice filled with respect. But it's not built out of strength. It's built out of pain, out of the need to protect herself from the world. What I've learned is that resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about being able to live with the pain, to carry it with you, and still find a way to move forward. Jess, who had been so guarded throughout the experiment, shared her own reflections. I've spent a lot of time trying to forget the things that have hurt me. But what this experiment has shown me is that those experiences are part of who I am. They've shaped me, for better or worse. And maybe that's where our resilience comes from, not from being strong, but from being able to survive the things that try to break us. Group C's presentation focused on the social dynamics of resilience. Syrah, the Reelian empath, spoke about what she had observed in Alex. Alex has an incredible ability to adapt to different social situations, Syrah began. But what I didn't realize at first was how much of a burden that can be. We've relied on him to keep our group together, to maintain harmony, but that's a lot to ask of one person. Alex, who had always been the peacemaker, admitted that the experiment had taken a toll on him. I've always prided myself on being able to connect with others, to understand them, but I've learned that it's okay to admit when I'm struggling too. Resilience isn't just about being strong for others, it's also about knowing when to take care of yourself. As the presentations concluded, Professor Torvan addressed the class. You've all done exceptionally well, she said, her voice filled with pride. But what you've uncovered goes beyond the scope of this experiment. You've discovered the true nature of resilience, not just in humans, but in yourselves. She paused, letting her words sink in. Resilience isn't about being invincible. It's about enduring, about finding the strength to carry on even when it seems impossible. It's about understanding that everyone, no matter how strong they appear, has their limits. And it's about recognizing that those limits don't make us weak. They make us human, or Gravon, or Reelian, or whatever species we belong to. The students sat in silence, reflecting on the journey they had undertaken. The experiment had started as a quest to uncover the secret of human resilience, but it had become something much more profound. It had revealed the shared struggles of all life forms, the universal truth that resilience is not about being unbreakable, but about finding a way to survive, to adapt, and to keep moving forward, no matter what. As the class dismissed, the students left with a deeper understanding of themselves and each other. They had not only learned about the resilience of Deathworlders, they had learned about the resilience within themselves. And that, they realized, was the true secret of invincibility.